The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle, where you can access your full potential right now. Finally break free from destructive habits. That dream life, if you want it, you can have it. This is where you transform your health, mind, business, and relationships. Or do nothing and keep your life the way it is. But if you're ready for change, you're in the right place. This is where you're gonna learn how to live a habit-based lifestyle. You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle.
Yes,
let's go.
It is going. So with that being said, today I want to talk about something that I got a lot of questions about, and it was really about, I created a list of my top 5 ways to set my week up for success. I had a ton of feedback on this, and I really wanted to dive into these because I really believe that the biggest mistake people make when it comes to setting their week up for success is that they don't know how to do it. They don't have a set amount of rules that they look at, or they don't have a successful framework in doing it. And so when they do it, they may know the habits, they may know, all the things that everybody tells you to do, but what they don't do is actually stick to it. And I'm going to give you some rules that I live by, some ways that I do things. Plus there's going to be a couple bonus things at the end. But yeah, if you're listening live, just hashtag live. If you are watching the replay, hashtag replay. If you're on the podcast and listening to this later on, thanks for being on here. But number one rule that I always set every single week when I kind of lay out my calendar, lay out my habits for the week, is I set a time to wake up and I set a time to go to bed each day of the week. Now, for me, Monday through Friday is pretty much the same time I go to bed and the same time that I wake up. But it's important that we have a schedule, and it's important that we make sure that we're scheduling our sleep. And so if you think about this, let's just say your normal day is taking 18 to 20 hours, and you're only getting 4 to 6 hours of sleep, and you can't figure out why you're always tired. You can't figure out why, you don't feel great. Well, that's the number one reason why you're not getting enough rest and you're not getting enough sleep. And sleep is one of the most underrated things that we can have as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a person. But say that, I only get 4 to 6 hours of sleep every night over a week's period. That means I'm losing out on 2 to 4 hours of sleep every single night over a week. That turns into, 14 to 28 hours over a month. That turns into, days of sleep, of days of neglect of sleep. And then people wonder why, they really wonder why they are tired, they're exhausted, they're lethargic, and they just don't feel great. And so this is really the framework that gives me is like, hey, every day I have from 6 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. to get everything I need to get done in that day. And knowing that gives me a time constraint. When I have a time constraint, I tend to get more work done. So as we're going through that, that's an important place for you to be. The second thing is set your work hours daily. So your work hours daily means that you set the specific amount of hours and the specific amount of time every day that you're going to get shit done, that you're going to work. And so, I know that every single day I get to the office around 6:30, 7. Technically, I don't start work until about 9. And so my hours are from 9 to 6 p.m., 4 days a week, and then 9 to 5, 1 day a week on Friday. And in between some of those days, I may get off a little bit earlier, but I set my work hours every single day. Now, this gives me a specific amount of time to get things done and it gives me a time constraint. So I know I have about 9 hours a day, sometimes 10, to get things done, depending on the day. Today, we started a little bit earlier than normal. And in starting that day earlier than normal, some of the things that I missed, some of the things that I didn't, and I'll also be getting off about an hour earlier than I did normally. So when you set your work hours, it's important that you stick to those. And one thing I'll say is have a non-negotiable of when you get off work. And that non-negotiable means that you're going to go home and be with your family. Mine is 6 p.m. non-negotiable. Like I don't remember the last time I got off past then in probably the last year. It's probably been on one hand how many times I could count. But I think what happens is we wear how long we work as if a badge of honor instead of what actually gets done. And I like to compare this to working out. So if you think about working out, most people get caught up. Oh, I work out an hour and a half a day. I work out 2 hours a day, or, if I'm a 75 diehard, I'm working out twice a day. Great. I'm going to get more shit done in half the amount of time than you. I'm going to get more stuff done in one workout than you're getting done in two. And so I think of that the same way in my workday. I'm going to get more done in the 8 to 9 hours that I work compared to what I used to get done in the 12 to 14 hours I would spend at work. And so it's all about quality of work, not about the quantity of work. And I think sometimes we can get caught up in that, even with our workouts. And I'm just jabbing, the guys. I have a ton of guys in my program in 75 hard. I like to joke around with them, but in all seriousness, it's about quality, not about quantity. And work hours are the same. If I'm getting as much done in 8 hours as I normally used to get done in 12 hours, that's a super productive day. And that's what I'm looking for. The other part of this is number 3, is blocking out the first 60 to 90 minutes of your day to fuel yourself. And so that means that the first 60 to 90 minutes a day, for me, it's the first 3 hours. Now, if you might be listening to this, you're like, dude, I don't have 3 hours. Great. Start with 60. Okay. I don't have 60. Start with 30. I don't really care what you start with. Just start with fueling yourself, whether it be working out, praying, meditating, journaling, reading. I think the biggest thing with this is staying off social media for the first 60, 90 minutes or 3 hours of the day. If you can do that, you will fuel yourself up and you'll be on fire to start the day. What I see a lot of entrepreneurs do, the first thing they do is they get on Facebook, they get on Instagram, they get on their email, they get on their text, and then they wonder why they're not getting things done during the day. They wonder why they're getting distracted. And it's usually because they jumped into work, they jumped into social media before they actually started working on themselves. And so I will tell you that, I could say, listen, work out. But I honestly think for me, praying and meditating is just as important as working out. And so I actually make those first. And so those are a lot of times my buy-in to my workout. And so I know that prayer or meditation, journaling may be the things that I would tend to skip and make sure I got my workout in. Now my buy-in to my workout is actually prayer, meditation, and journaling to make sure that I do those. And so, have a buy-in to the habit that you're going to do. For most people, it's probably working out. A lot of people don't skip that, at least the people that I know. And so take the habits you'd normally skip, stack those in front. This is one of the things that we call the habit stack. Stack the habit you would normally skip in front of the habit that you would normally do, and you'll find out that you won't miss that very much. And so I know this, that if I got to pray before I work out, then I'm praying. If I got to meditate before I work out, I'm going to meditate. And so make sure that you put these in front and make sure you're spending and investing that first 60 to 90 minutes or 3 hours a day, fueling yourself, working on yourself, and stay off of social media. Now, the last part of this, or not really the last part, but the other part of this is where we you know, a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on what they do the first, you know, hour of the day. We all know morning habits are important, but very few people I find talk about their PM habits or their nightly routine. And, you know, I heard this one time, I don't remember the guy's name, but I was in one of his courses and he told me, he said, listen, it's important to do your AM habits, but imagine if your AM habits were like taking off in a plane and your PM habits were like landing the plane. And I thought, man, you know, what if we just were flying around in the air all night, you know, which is a lot of times how we treat our evening habits, is we don't ever actually come down and land the plane. And so he said, listen, landing the plane is your PM habits. The better you can do that, you can get refueled, reset, and be ready to go the next day. And so when I heard that about 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, man, that's actually a really good concept, and to think of it that way. And so make sure you block out, you know, 30 to 60 minutes of your day to really prepare yourself for bed. And, you know, some of the things that I do, you know, I'd stretch, foam roll, work out, or I'm sorry, do some breath work. Most of the stuff you're going to do at this place is very, you're not going to build up a sweat. That's not the goal on this. The goal is to do things that actually bring your nervous system down. You know, so stretching does that, foam rolling does that, doing some breath work, some HRV breathing, taking some supplements. Magnesium is one of my kind of go-to things that I like to take. And I like to journal and do a brain dump. So anything that's kind of on my mind, I like to get it on paper, because then I don't go to bed with it. And then I like to, you know, pray. And I also like to read, and I kind of read a different book at night versus what I would normally read during the day. And so those are just some options. But your evening routine shouldn't really take you much more than about 36 to 60 minutes. The other thing I would also eliminate is any blue screens as much as possible, 30 to 60 minutes prior to bed, so that you have better sleep. And then also putting your phone in Wi-Fi mode. And so there's definitely, what do they call that? Congeniality. There's definitely some things that we can clean up in your nighttime routine. So like eliminating TVs, eliminating blue screens, eliminating computers, phones, 30 to 60 minutes prior to bed, getting our eyes adjusted, you know, eliminating Wi-Fi in the bedroom, things like that. Those all help with us getting a better night's sleep and making sure that we wake up rested and recovered. Now, the other thing is, I told you I was going to give you 5. I'm going to give you 5, and then I'm going to give you 2 bonuses. Now, the fifth one is setting time blocks. So set 3 different time blocks for your business. So we have one, which is a high productivity time, and this is building and creating for your business. This is the time of day where you really feel like you have the highest productivity of your day. And for me, that's usually around between 9 and 11. I like to try to get those things done in between that time. There's also, for me, coaching or fulfillment blocks. And so my coaching or fulfillment blocks is when I'm actually coaching in sessions with my clients. Those are times where I'm fulfilling the business that I've sold. And then there's also the marketing and sales. So, you know, where I'm setting up getting leads, I'm setting up getting sales calls, different things like that, getting on sales calls. But I will tell you that out of all the areas that I see a lot of business owners fail, is they don't take time to invest in their marketing and sales on a day-to-day basis. And so they get sloppy with it and they overlook this part of their business. And then they wonder why their numbers aren't where they want them to be. And so, you know, we're rolling into our 2 bonus. So the 2 bonus sections are this, putting your phone down. Put your phone down for the first 2 hours you get home. And, you know, I set this with some guys that I coached about 3 years ago, and we called this setting the tone. And, you know, these were all guys. And so we said, you know, dad sets the tone when he gets home. And what that meant was, when you got home, leave your work in the car, leave your phone in the car, hand your phone to your kids. But remember, when you get home at night, you're setting the tone for the evening. And I can't think of a better way to do that than to actually put your phone down And I'm not saying anybody else needs to do this other than you listening to this podcast. You need to set your phone down for the first 2 hours every night you get home from work. Don't bring work home, and know that you are setting the tone as, the parent, whether you're male, female, whatever, listening to this, just learn to put your phone down for 2 hours. And this is as much of a reminder to me as it might be to you to make sure that I'm doing this and unplugging from my day-to-day work. Cause I know if I got my phone on me, chances are at some point I'm probably going to look at it and I'm probably going to get back into work. So make sure that you are setting that tone every single day. Now, the last part of this, which I think is one of the biggest things that you could do, is schedule date nights. Now, there's 3 types of date nights. There's dating your spouse, dating your kids, and then dating yourself. And I will say that most people are likely to date their spouse. They're most likely to date their kids, but they are least likely to date themselves. And so whether that's a 30-minute date, 45-minute date, no one ever said you had to, go a certain amount of time to make it a date. But I will say this, that date night with your spouse will be a game changer in your relationship. It's a committed time every single week. It could just be something as simple as taking a walk, maybe going to the park with your kids, or an actual date night where you go out to dinner, you go to a movie. The point is don't overcomplicate it, but be consistent with it. Same thing with your kids. Find out things that they may want to do and have them choose what they want to do. And when they're younger, it's obviously easier. As they get older, it could be something as simple as taking them to, coffee, taking them to breakfast, taking them to, an event, or just doing something that they want to do. But the last part of this is dating yourself. And this is one of the ones that I would tend to miss. And this is one that, it's where you're not necessarily doing something. So a lot of times I work out every day. That's my date with myself. Well, yes, it is, but it's also not. So for me, maybe going to the beach, maybe just going somewhere for 30 minutes and not really having anything to do, going for a walk, something to where I'm spending time and investing time into myself, into my own mind, into my own mindset, to where I'm able to actually clear that. That's one of the most important dates that we can go on, but also one of the most overlooked. And I would get in the habit of scheduling this for, maybe 15 minutes if you have a hard time with it, or 30 minutes, and starting there and then increasing that as you go. But these are the top 5 plus 7 ways to really set your week up for success. And, I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on this. If you're watching the replay, listening to the podcast, would love to hear about, you implementing this into your life, into your business. And I can say that these things have definitely been a game changer in my life. And I get to come on here and share those with you guys. Many of these things I've actually done individual episodes on our podcast about them. I think at this point we're around 325 episodes in. So, I thought it would be a good time to combine them together and have you be able to leverage these every week when you set your week up on Sunday. So guys, love you listening to the show. If you guys have any requests or would love to find out, more about habit-based lifestyle, you can always message me, jesse@habitbasedlifestyle.com. You can find me on Facebook. If you're inside of our Facebook group, just leave a comment and I'd love to get back to you. You guys have a great day.
The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse.